Surely you have heard of the recent controversy of Netflix about the film Cuties, and although I think it is a very serious issue that should be discussed further, this video is not mainly about that. In this video I want to tell you about how Netflix year after year has been losing its quality by producing its original content. Making flat movies, repeating many things and with plots that could easily be created by an artificial intelligence. But how did all this start? Well, Netflix at the beginning did not make its own content, it was only the intermediary between the production companies and the consumer. Once Netflix grew and positioned itself as the leading company in streaming content, they saw a great business idea: the creation of original content. Having already the data of the people and many registered users, they realized that by producing their own content, they could increase their profits quite a bit. So they promoted their own content more and more, leaving everything else aside. But the problem is not that they make their own content. After all, it is a company and obviously they want to make money. The problem is when this is done by sacrificing the quality of your service. Netflix reuses everything. Let's play a game. I'll tell you what a movie is about, and you'll have to guess its name. Two people fall in love, but someone very close to them doesn't support that relationship. The weird and misunderstood girl falls in love with the good guy. A group of rich white teenagers go to a school to face the classic problems of teenagers with adults who never really intervene. That's it? Even I don't know the answer. Sometimes it even seems like Netflix is looking for any story, the cheaper the rights the better, and puts one of its magic formulas into it. Using static shots and with rather poor productions that make them even tedious to watch. Is that seriously? What is the need to separate them into two different shots? It is obvious that they are in the same room. Sometimes, Netflix adds a sensitive subject, as it did with sex education, which would not be bad and would even make for a very good series that teaches young people about these subjects, if it were not 13 Reasons Why, but with many penizes and crockery. Netflix romanticizes problems. It's no secret that Netflix in recent years has been touching on very serious issues such as suicide, abortion, assassinates, among others. Here the problem is not that they talk about these topics, in fact many movies and series do, the bad thing is how they treat it. A great and obvious example that became very popular at the time is 13 Reasons Why, that at the same time that the series was released, the suicide rate increased in teenagers. But let's talk about a case that is not very well known, and therefore even more worrying. In the film The Kissing Booth, specifically in the character of Noah Flynn, you see a person with impulsive and violent behavior which can only be controlled by Elle, showing her as a perfect and very romantic relationship, which in reality is a very dependent and unhealthy relationship. And I repeat, it is not bad that they talk about these issues. 3 Steps Over Heaven is another film with a very similar plot, but unlike this, the characters in the end have consequences, and you see an evolution of the main character, Hatch. Forced inclusion. I don't really want to go too deep into this subject. It's no secret that lately Netflix is exploiting this. But it's practically a rule that in every new production they make there has to be a black and gay character, and if a new character is added, it has to be Latino. And once again, this is not bad. The bad thing is how they do it in such a forced way that it ends up being annoying. Flat characters. The problem with always using the same actors is that no matter how good they are, something will always come out of their real personality, and it's worse if they have little experience, making them feel like you're always watching the same thing. If you add to this a bad plot that doesn't even give them a motivation to do what they do, you get a bad movie. Going back to the example of The Kissing Booth, Elle is a character that could have a better plot since at the beginning, it is mentioned that she and Lee are literally best friends forever, but unfortunately Elle's mother passed away. Instead of going deeper into the subject as something that could affect the plot later on, it is mentioned as if it was something without any importance. Also, at no time is there any mention of what she wants. What her goals in life are. They make her seem like a person whose only purpose is to love Noah above all else. Even in the sequel to this movie, we are shown how choosing something as important as college is based on decisions outside of her. At no point does she investigate what is best for her and only listens to what others tell her. But at the end of the day, I know I am not the target of these movies. Maybe that's why they become so boring and empty. And if you can understand that it's not right to normalize things like murder or abortion, they can help you pass the time. Although if that's your goal, I recommend you visit my channel. But what happens when Netflix crosses the line of entertainment and launches Cuties? Netflix cancelled. As I said at the beginning, I'm sure by now you've heard about the Netflix controversy with Cuties. In case you don't know what it's about, it basically tells us about an 11-year-old girl who belongs to a very conservative religious family and who in turn wants to belong to a group called Cuties. This caused quite a stir on Twitter where a lot of people started uploading captures saying that they had cancelled their Netflix subscription. On the other hand, on the internet there are some critics who have already seen the film, defending it, saying that it portrays how these girls do all this from innocence and that they don't really know what it means. Adding that in the end the main character doesn't decide to leave either with this group of girls or with the humiliating traditions of her family, like preparing the wedding of your husband's second wife. And that she finds another way to feel liberated and with the possibility of doing what she wants. As inspiring and profound as this film is, it doesn't take away from the fact that they have put 11-year-old girls in very suggestive scenes. Who knows what the director had to explain to them in order for them to do those scenes. Besides, in previous occasions we have seen how a production with a purpose ends up causing just that which it wants to avoid. In conclusion, I think that Netflix should think a little more when producing or distributing its content and not take for granted that because it is Netflix everything it touches will be gold, because if this continues in this way at some point people will get tired of this, another company will come along that will do things better and could mark the end of Netflix.